What's going on, my ASVAB party people? Hopefully you were in yesterday's class, but if you weren't, no worries. This is a challenge question that we did in last night's class, and I want to go ahead and walk you through how to do it. So with that said, let's get to it. First things first, always read the question every single time. Read the question first. So the question starts right here. How tall is the second box? Now, of course, if you see the word if, remember that that's going to be basically related information that you're going to need to pay attention to. But the question itself always starts with who, what, when, where, why, how many, which of the following. That's what it always starts with, those action words. So with that said, booyah, how tall is the second box? Sounds good. So when we think about how tall something is, I think it's pretty fair to say that we're looking at the height, right? So I'm going to go ahead and mark that off. We want the height of the second box. Sounds good right there. Height of the second box equals what? That's what we want to know. Now what we're going to do from here is we're going to go ahead and scan the information and understand what is related to the height of that second box. Because when I see the word box, it's possible that we're talking about a rectangular prism, or a prism where, again, it could be talking about the volume, the surface area, maybe the area of one of the sides. I don't know. But it's possible that we could be talking about geometry here, which we are. So with that said, it says if the second box is 10 units long and 4 units wide, how long is it? Or how tall is it? Excuse me. Okay, so with that said, then I'm looking at that and I'm saying, all right, cool. They kind of give us some good information here. They tell us that right here, second box, 10 units long, 4 units wide. So that tells me that the length of the second box equals 4 and the width equals, or excuse me, the length equals 10 and the width equals 4. So from there, what do? Well, now we're going to go through the problem here and again, understand what information we're given. What's related to the second box? What can I use? What's going on? So here we go. A square box, so a rectangular box with a square base, has sides measuring 8 units and 5 units tall. All right, sounds good. A second rectangular box has double the volume of the square box. So right there, a second rectangular box, it's double the volume of the square box. So this second box that we're talking about, I need to write that down. Second box's volume equals double, so twice, 2 times the first box volume. First box's volume. And so, of course, as you're doing the test itself, you don't want to write everything down, but you want to kind of log that information in your head and you want to say, okay, cool, that's important, do your thing. So now that we're here, notice how I skipped the 8 and the 5 until now. I skipped that because it wasn't really necessary for the problem until I knew what the first box had to do with the second box. So now that I know that the first box is basically half the volume of the second box, or the second is double the first, now that I know that, now I know that this is important information. But now there's probably a question that you have right now. Anderson, what's a square box? Well, a square box is literally a box that has the top and the bottom, they're squares. That's it. So it'll look something like this. So it says, again, a square base here. Square base. So the sides are 8 units. So what that tells me is that, again, we're going to have something along these lines. Hoping that, there we go, worked itself out nice and easy. So the top and the bottom are going to be squares. And then it says it's only 5 units tall. So it's going to be a little shorter here, but that's okay. And so boom, right there, here, and here. So again, the sides are all going to be 8, but it's going to be 5 units tall. That's what that means. All that means, again, is that the length and the width are basically going to be 8, and the height is 5. And so, can we find the volume of this box? Yeah, we can. But why is it important to find the volume? The reason that it's important is because if I have the volume of the first box, I can double it to get the volume of the second. If I have the volume of the second box, well, guess what? I have the length, the width, and I can solve for the height. Right there. So that's the goal here. We're going to go ahead, find the volume of the first box, double it to get the volume of the second, and then apply that to the formula for the second box and do our thing. This is going to be pretty straightforward because the volume of the first box is going to be equal to the length times the width times the height. 8 times 8 times 5. And so from there, we'll go ahead and solve this. 8 times 8 is going to be 64. 64 times 5, what's that going to give us? That's going to be 320. So I know that because multiplying by 5 is the same thing as multiplying by 10, then cutting it in half. Half of 10 is 5. So times 10, cut in half. Boom. So there we go. There's the second box, or there's the first box. We know that the second box is double that. So what I know about the volume of the second is going to be equal to double 320. Double 320, that's going to give us 640. So that's the volume of the second box. I'm going to use green for that. 640, that's the volume of the second box. Now, what did we know again? Remember, we knew that the length and the width are 10 and 4. We don't know the height, but we do know that the volume is going to be equal to length times width times height. And so we'll write that out. We have 640 for the volume. We have 10 for the length. We have 4 for the width. We just don't know what the height is. We just don't know. So all we have to do at this point, really, all we have to do is go ahead, simplify here, divide both sides, we're set. So allow me to give myself a little more room, or I'll just zoom on in, apparently. It's all good. And so here, 10 times 4, that's going to give us 40. So now we have 40h, and the last thing we need to do is divide both sides by that 40, we're set. So divide both sides by 40. So we see here that that's going to cancel out completely. These zeros cancel, so what's 64 divided by 4? If you need help with that, you can divide by 2, then divide by 2 again. So 64 divided by 2 is 32. Divided by 2 again is 16. Or you can do long division, you'll still get 16. And so the height right over here equals 16 units. In this case, it would be 16, just 16 units. Right there. Booyah. And that is how you tackle this challenge question. The answer will be C, 16 units. I hope this makes sense, my party people. Again, if you have any questions at all about how to raise your score, how to work this problem out, I got your back. So go ahead and shoot me a text at 567-698-8867 if you want to learn more about raising your score with the ASVAB. So I'll see you in the next video, my party people. Let's ace the ASVAB.